and welcome to Perception Media. I am your hostess, the Cinegeek, and today I would like to talk about a 1984 cult classic that I think has not gotten enough attention and love in its life as being a cinematic effing sci-fi masterpiece, and that is Buckaroo Banzai, or specifically, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. Oh my gosh, so this movie just drops you into a world of craziness, but I think you do get enough background to understand it fully. The movie begins with a title scroll explaining who Buckaroo Banzai is. He was born in 1949 to an American mother who is Dr. Sandra, and she's played by Jamie Lee Curtis, and a Japanese father, Dr. Masato. To paraphrase, he is a brilliant neurosurgeon who has roamed the planet studying martial arts, particle physics, and collected an eccentric group of friends who are hard-rocking scientists that call themselves the Hong Kong Cavaliers. So there's a deleted scene, and I'll have a link below, that explains that Buckaroo's parents were scientists who were experimenting with the oscillation overthruster, which allows physical objects like a person or a vehicle to go through solid matter or another physical object like a wall or a mountain. And his parents worked with Dr. Hikata, who raised Buckaroo Banzai after they were killed by Hanoi Zan in 1954, so 30 years ago. But more on that later. We first see Buckaroo Banzai operating on a man in a hospital with one Jeff Goldblum playing Dr. Sydney, or who he will become known as, New Jersey. Buckaroo invites New Jersey to come join the Hong Kong Cavaliers, and he seems like he's a huge fan of Buckaroo Banzai, so New Jersey totally agrees. But Buckaroo Banzai is on a deadline, and he takes off really fast after successfully completing the surgery. Words are hard. With Clancy Brown, who's playing Rawhide, and he's kind of the straight man in this film. And he's going to test this jet car using the oscillation overthruster, and this really reminds me of Back to the Future, honestly. And anyway, he's able to successfully go through the mountain in the car and drive through the eighth dimension. However, he does pick up something along the way. An alien. Anyway, so we finally get our first actual look at who Buckaroo Banzai is, because his face has been kind of masked this whole time. And it's mother effing RoboCop. Yeah, that's right. It's Peter Weller. Just making this awesome movie more awesome. So then there is a shocking hard cut to John Lithgow playing Dr. Lizardo, aka John Orphan, in the Trenton Home for the Criminally Insane. And you might ask yourself, how's he playing two people, Cinegeek? Well, when the character electrocutes himself, we get shocking, we get a flashback to 1938, so 46 years ago, to a lab at Princeton University where Dr. Lizardo is working with Dr. Hikata on the oscillation overthruster, and they're partially successful, and they open a window to the eighth dimension with which Dr. Lizardo's head goes through, and he enters the eighth dimension, and he comes back kind of possessed by a red electroid known as John Orphan. So you might be, whoa, what's a red electroid? It's an alien. But more on that later, because hard cut to the next scene. And it is so weird. It's so awkward. It's so painful, guys. It's bad. I have a link to it below, as I don't show clips on my site, but it's the Hong Kong Cavaliers are playing at a nightclub, and during the song, Buckaroo Banzai just stops, and he says, is there someone out there not having a good time? Someone out there crying? And through all the noise in the club, we hear this pathetic, just tumultuous me. And we're introduced to Penny Pretty, who is having a real bad day. And Buckaroo Banzai tries to cheer her up by playing the most depressing effing song I've ever heard in my life. And during which, and you're just thinking, this is bad, stop, make it stop, hard cut to the next scene, guys, this is dragging. She pulls out a gun and tries to kill herself, but is interrupted and accidentally shoots someone else. What? Just anyway, that's how we're introduced to Penny Pretty, and we learn later that she's the identical twin sister of Buckaroo Banzai's late wife, Peggy, who was also killed by Hanoi Zan. But more on him later. And Penny was adopted, so she doesn't really know anything about any of this, but he becomes obsessed with her, and they start a relationship after he bails her out of prison. This all seems very legit to me. So, yeah. And then we get hard cut back to the Trenton home for the criminally insane, where Worfen has called Mr. John Big Butte at Yo-Yo Dime Propulsive Systems in Grover's Mill, New Jersey. But more on that later. So he says that Dr. Hikata has the oscillation thruster, and they've been able to successfully break through the 8th dimension, and now they need to nab him, and he's going to break out of Trenton. So now hard cut back to the Hong Kong Cavaliers, now with New Jersey and Penny Pretty in tow. They go to this presentation with the military regarding the oscillation overthruster, and Buckaroo kind of begins to explain to the Secretary of Defense and a senator and some others that 30 years ago his parents died trying to prove that aliens exist, quote, living on a simultaneous plane of existence with our own, end quote. And then Buckaroo Banzai explained how the oscillation overthruster works, which I've already done, and he shows the conference the alien that he brought back with him when he went into the 8th dimension himself. But then he's interrupted by a call from the President of the United States. So during this conference, the film kind of cuts back and forth between the conference and an alien ship hovering kind of just outside of Earth's atmosphere, and we're introduced to the Black Lectroids, but I'll explain a little bit more on that later. And they've been listening to Buckaroo this whole time. So Buckaroo, in fact, did not get a call from the President, but he actually is friends with the President, so that'll come up later. And we learned from the wing commander of the Black Lectroid ship that they apparently communicate via electricity. So they electrically shock Buckaroo Banzai through the phone, and this allows him to now be able to see the red Lectroids in their true form rather than just the human body they're possessing. And the red Lectroids are played by, and I'm kidding you not, Dan Hedaya, Vincent Schiavarelli, and Christopher Lloyd. Did I mention Back to the Future? Because Back to the Future. So they're, like I said, the red Lectroids, or to quote Buckaroo Banzai, pure evil from the 8th dimension! And they end up abducting Dr. Hikata, and they get the oscillation overthruster. So the red Lectroids and the black Lectroids are from Planet 10 by way of the 8th dimension. So back in 1938, Dr. Lizardo actually worked with Dr. Hikata, and they opened a window to the 8th dimension that allowed John Worfen to inhabit Lizardo. They also allowed 46 other red Lectroids to come through. And New Jersey figures out that Orson Welles' reading of H.G. Wells' War of the Worlds, which took place in Grover's Mill, New Jersey, which is less than 3 miles from Princeton University, where the doctors did their experiment, wasn't a hoax, but real. And I have a whole thing about the War of the Worlds. Please watch it. I know it's like 20 minutes long, but it's very in-depth, and it's really cool. I spent a lot of time on it. But anyway, so to quote New Jersey, where there was a huge electrical dimensional accident, some giant explosion, and they hypnotized Orson Welles into covering it up. So first he says there's an invasion from Mars, but then he says, no, it was just a radio hoax. And then the Black Lectroid wing commander, John Emdahl, explains to Buckaroo Banzai, the hated leader of our military caste, the self-proclaimed John Worfen, a bloodthirsty butcher as evil as your Hitler, was overthrown by freedom-loving forces, tried and condemned along with several hundred of his followers to spend the eternity in a formless void as the 8th dimension. So we learn that the Lectroids take over, so we learn how the Lectroids take over and what the deal with the electricity is. That's it! Quote, These red creatures, they somehow give off bacteria. We breathe it, it swims up our nose to our cerebral cortex, where it literally talks to our brain cells and tells us what exactly they want us to see. It's electrical brainwashing. End quote. All the good information comes from New Jersey. I mean, I would just want to see a movie about Jeff Goldblum and Clancy Brown. But that might just be me. But it would be awesome. So anyway, essentially the black Lectroids are the good Lectroids, and the red Lectroids are the bad Lectroids. And John Worfen is Zod, and he's just broken out of the Phantom Zone. And it's Back to the Future. Anyway, with aliens! Back to the Future with aliens! So there's a long third act battle between the Hong Kong Cavaliers, a black Lectroid named John O'Connor, and the red Lectroid, specifically John Worfen. Naturally, Buckaroo wins and saves the day and Earth from being destroyed by the black Lectroids, which they threatened to do if they didn't stop John Worfen. So the film ends with, watch for the next adventures of Buckaroo Banzai. Buckaroo Banzai against the World Crime League. Unfortunately, the sequel never happened, which I'm so sad about. And the film did originally contain a deleted intro scene and dialogue about the sequel, all of which was removed. And the sequel would have focused on Hanoi Zan, which, as I mentioned above, was the man who had killed Buckaroo Banzai's parents and wife, and he is the leader of the World Crime League. It would have been a cool, series of films, I think. I wish I had gotten a sequel. I think at one point they were going to make a TV show about it in 1998, and they were looking into making a TV show, which would have been made or written and directed by Kevin Smith in 2016, which would have been fantastic. Marvel has had Buckaroo Banzai in a couple different comic books, and he's even been in, I think the Avengers, and then DC later had him in the Justice League. So he's been kind of all over the comic book world, and he's had his own comics, specifically with Marvel. But they didn't really advance the plot too much. I think if anyone could have a really cool comic book storyline, it seriously would be Buckaroo Banzai. And I wish someone, Kevin Smith or otherwise, would pick it up and realize just how cool of a gem this story was. I mean, there's so much there, and there's so much you can take with this neuroscientist, particle physicist, rock star, crime fighter, espionage, martial artist. What am I leaving out? Oh my gosh, just everything. Renaissance man that is Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers. I mean, Peter Weller, Clancy Brown, and Jeff Goldblum all still act. The other guys in the movie, there are a couple other guys, and most notably there's this dude named Perfect Tommy. I've never seen him in anything else. But those three still act, and we got a few years. The sequel could happen. I don't think anyone's asking for a sequel but me and Kevin Smith. But anyway, please check this movie out. It is really great. It's available on Amazon Prime, or if you want to rent it, I think it's only it's $3, Give a lot of love to Buckaroo Banzai. We need a Buckaroo Banzai sequel and a Moon Knight movie. Have a great day. Bye.